Today is Thursday, August 20th. We're going to be reading Job. Job 24 to 29. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. All right, Catherine, are you ready? Yes? You ready to take a nap? Is that what you're ready to do? No, you're ready to listen? While Daddy reads? Yes. All right. So we're gonna come back up after he's done reading to see if you're still awake, okay? You got yourself all comfy there? Yes? And cheerful disposition. Thumbs up. Do we have a thumbs up? Oh, there's your cheerful disposition. Do we have thumbs up too? All right, thank you. And now, high five. All right, and fist bump, and high five, and fist bump, and high five. And we have 5 chapters. So. All right. Oi.
That's good for my day.
All right.
Let me touch him on the face. Let me just why do him on the lap.
Early for school.
They do. It's the.
Alright, chapter 24. Since times of judgments are not kept by the Almighty, why do they who know Him not see His days? Some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed on them. They drive away the donkey of the orphan, and they take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn away the needy, the poor of the earth are forced to hide. Behold, as wild donkeys in the desert, they go out to their work, rising early for a prey. The wilderness yields food for them and for their children. They gather their fodder in the field, and they glean in the vineyard of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, and they have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and embrace the rock for want of a shelter. They snatch the fatherless from the breast, and take a pledge from the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry. They press out oil within their walls, and tread their wine presses, yet suffer thirst. Men groan from outside the city, and the soul of the wounded cries out. Yet God does not charge them with wrong. They are those who rebel against the light. They do not know its ways, or abide in its paths. The murderer, rising with the light, kills the poor and needy, and in the night he is like a thief. Also the eye of the adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me, and he disguises his face in the dark. They break into houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They do not know the light. For the morning is the same to them as the shadow of death. If someone recognizes them, they are in terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift as the waters, their portion is cursed in the earth. They do not turn toward the way of the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so the grave consumes those who have sinned. The womb will forget him, the worm will feed sweetly on him. He will be remembered no more, and wickedness will be broken like a tree. He preys on the barren who do not bear, and does no good for the widow. But God draws the mighty away with his power. He rises up, and no man is sure of life. He gives them security, and they rely on it. Yet his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way like all others, and cut off as the tops of the grain. If it is not so, who will prove me a liar and make my speech worth nothing? 25. Bildad speaks, man cannot be righteous. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered, dominion and fear are with him. He makes peace in his high places. Is there any number to his armies? And upon whom does his light not rise? How then can man be righteous with God? Or how can he who is born of a woman be clean? Behold, even the moon does not shine, and the stars are not pure in his sight. How much less man who is a maggot, and the son of a man who is a worm? Chapter 26, Job replies, God's majesty is unsearchable. But Job answered, how have you helped him who is without power? How have you saved the arm that has no strength? How have you counseled him who has no wisdom? And how have you plentifully declared sound knowledge? To whom have you uttered words, and whose breath came from you? The departed spirits tremble under the waters, and their inhabitants. The underworld is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. He stretches out the north over empty space. He hangs the earth upon nothing. He binds up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not broken under him. He covers the face of the full moon, and spreads his cloud over it. He has circled the waters with boundaries, until the day and night come to an end. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divides the sea with his power, and by his understanding he strikes through the proud. By his breath he has made fair the heavens. His hand has formed the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are but part of his ways, and how small a whisper we hear of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand? Chapter 27, Job's last words to his friends. Moreover, Job continues his discourse. As God lives, who has taken away my judgment, and the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter? All the while my spirit is in me, and the breath of God is in my nostrils. My lips will not speak wickedness, nor my tongue utter deceit. God forbid that I should justify you. Until I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast and will not let it go. My heart will not reproach me as long as I live. Let my enemy be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he may gain much, when God takes away his soul? Will God hear his cry when trouble comes upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? I will teach you about the hand of God. What is with the Almighty I will not conceal. Look, all of you have seen it. Why then have you become altogether vain? This is a portion of a wicked man with God, and the inheritance that oppressors receive from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring will not be satisfied with bread. Those who survive him will be buried in death, and their widows will not weep. Though he heaps up silver like the dust, and piles of clothing like the clay, he may pile it up, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. He builds his house like a moth, and like a booth that the watchman makes. The rich man will lie down, but he will not be gathered. He opens his eyes, and he is not. Terrors overtake him like floodwaters. A tempest steals him away in the night. The east wind carries him away, and he departs. It sweeps him out of his place. For God will cast it upon him, and not spare. He will flee from its power. Men will clap their hands at him, and will hiss him out of his place. Chapter 28, Interlude, where wisdom is found. Surely there is a mine for the silver, and a place where they refine gold. Iron is taken out of the earth, and copper is smelted from the ore. Man puts an end to darkness and searches every extremity for ore in the darkness and the shadow of death. He breaks open a shaft away from the inhabitants in places forgotten by feet. They hang far away from men, and they totter. As for the earth, from where it comes bread, and underneath it is turned up as by fire. Its stones are the source of sapphires, and it has dust of gold. There's a path that no bird knows, and the vulture's eye has not seen. The lion cubs have not trodden it, nor has a fierce lion passed by it. He puts forth his hand upon the rock. He overturns the mountains by the roots. He cuts out rivers among the rocks, and his eyes see every precious thing. He prevents the floods from overflowing, and the thing that is hidden he brings forth to light. But where will wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its price, nor is it found in the land of the living. The depth says, it is not in me, and the sea says, it is not with me. It cannot be bought for gold, nor can silver be weighed for its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and it cannot be exchanged for jewels of fine gold. No mention will be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia will not equal it, nor will it be valued with pure gold. From where then does wisdom come, and where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all living, and concealed from the birds of the air. Destruction and death say it. We have heard of its fame with our ears. God understands its way, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth, and sees under the whole heaven to make the weight of the wind, and he weights the waters by measure. When he made a decree for the rain, and the path for the lightning of thunder, then he saw it, and declared it, and prepared it, yes, and searched it out. To man he said, look, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Chapter 29, Job's final defense. Moreover, Job continued his discourse. Oh, that I were in the months past, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness. And I was in the days of my autumn youth, when the friendly counsel of God was over my tent, when the Almighty was still with me, when my children were around me, when my steps were bathed in butter, and the rock poured out rivers of oil for me. When I went out to the gate of the city, and I took my seat in the square, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained from talking and put their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and the tongue stuck to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard, then it blessed me, and when the eye saw, then it approved me. Because I delivered the poor who cried, and the fatherless and him who had none to help him. The blessing of the perishing man came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was like a robe, and a diadem. It was for eyes for the blind, and I was feet for the lame. I was a father to the poor, and I searched out the case that I did not know. I broke the jaws of the wicked and plucked the victim from its teeth. Then I said, I will die in my nest, and I will multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was removed in my hand. Men listened to me and waited, and kept silence for my counsel. After my words they did not speak again, and my speech settled on them like dew. They waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the spring rain. If I mocked at them, they did not believe it, and the light of my countenance they did not cast down. I chose the way for them, and sat as chief, and lived as a king in the army, as one who comforts mourners.
All right, and that is Job 24 through 29. Hold on. And Catherine, she fell asleep. She actually fell asleep like through the first chapter. So she's out.
B.
She didn't even need her horses. All right, look over here, guys. Let's say goodbye.